process and fair process. I was violated from the beginning. My credit card audit went from somebody, when Francis stamped it confidential, it made it from there to Facebook. So, you know, let's talk confidential, let's talk fair process, due process. I mean, you know, I've been violated from the very start. So the second memo stated that, like I said, you know, the code plainly states, and during any of the voting, that anybody that can't vote impartial must recuse himself, which my Uncle Joe did because he's my dad's brother, right? Jack Ferguson was allowed to stay in the room and continue to speak on his behalf when he's the accuser, and was allowed to vote. Now, how can he vote impartial if he's the one pressing the charges on me? It was brought up by these guys, I'm told, and on my behalf to say, this is what the code says. Chairman Brooks, why are you allowing him to stay in here? They were ignored, he was allowed to stay in there and vote. Again, my process has been violated. He asked me to leave the room, so I left it. Well, the other person was allowed to stay in. I mean, there's so much of this process that, in my opinion, didn't follow code. So, third time. First time to vote, I found out about it on Facebook. Second time I found out about it on Facebook. Third time I found out about Facebook. By then, I'm kind of going a little bit crazy. I'm like, don't you have the decency to come and talk to me and call me or notify me, whether it's email, whether it's phone call, we see each other at work. You guys can't call me in and tell me what the results of the committee's decision is, and I gotta read it on Facebook? Again, I feel like I've been violated. So, I mean, people are putting the count on, people are putting who's in there, who was not in there, all this stuff. So, the code says when they notify me, there has to come a recommendation from the actual ethics trial. We did the trial, okay? Like I said, I went and met with the detective voluntarily. I didn't have to. There's nothing that says I have to go meet the detective. The recommendation from the ethics committee was 60 days. This is the second time. 60 days, they hired a detective to do an investigation on me. 50 days in, I still hadn't heard from the guy. I'm sitting there wondering, well, how can you do an investigation if you don't even come talk to me? What kind of investigation is that? About the 52nd day, he called me. He says, you don't have to come in and meet with us, but you can voluntarily. So I did. And I went and told him the same story that I'm telling you, and that I've told every single person that's ever come and asked me. There's been a handful that have come up and asked me. The rest has been all talk and rumorville and lies and all that. So I did my part of it. I didn't hide anything. I was upfront about everything. I didn't feel like I was doing anything wrong. I explained to you how I interpret the policy, both policies. So the code says that they have to notify me and give me 10 days notice before next Friday, before they actually take the vote of their recommendation, okay? I got it handed to me yesterday afternoon about 3 o'clock from the chairman of the tribal government. And so yesterday's the 12th, and if we're gonna follow code, we're gonna force code, you're gonna hold me to the code? That's the 22nd. Next Friday's the 21st. That's 9 days, that's not 10 days. I brought it to his attention. He goes back and forth. He says one thing and does another. His email tells me, and I can show you my email. I'll show you all my paperwork. I don't have nothing to hide. You can see everything I got. I got a packet this thick. Each time, each step that we went, the packet changed as far as 17 fuel charges, 18 fuel charges, 17 fuel charges. It's been different every single time. And I brought that to the attention of the committee. So, you know, like I said, I've been violated from the very start. I wasn't hiding anything. I was up front. That's my interpretation of the policy. So, you know, I'm kind of losing my frame of thought here. You know, I'm trying to cover everything where I felt like I was done wrong. And for your information, the money was paid back. It's been paid back probably a month and a half ago. The total's $964, something like that, 964 and some change. Okay. When the ethics came, I went and talked to the executive director, and he said, well, Benny, if you have that money, pay it back, even if you don't agree that there's a violation of the policy. I said, well, I'm not refusing to pay it back, but if I just go write them a check to that, then in my opinion, that makes me look like I'm admitting to everything that they're accusing me of. So he said, write it under protest. So I wrote a check for $963 to put under protest so that I would have my time to explain my side of the story. It took to the third step of this whole process before I could even speak. You know, so if somebody's going to come in and press charges against me, why wouldn't they allow me to speak in the first time to give my side of the story, to hear my side before you even vote on whether you're going to move it forward or not? So you do this step, you do this step, and then this step. Okay, now you can speak, Benny. Now let's hear your side of the story. So then it's went so far along, people are getting pressured and calls and Facebook and everything else. So that far along in the process, they almost have to do something, or it looks like it was swept under the rug, or you're covering, or whatever. The other thing is that, you know, I know for a fact that other council, and what she explained earlier briefly on when they go on travel and they get per diem, they owe the tribe money. Nobody else was charged with ethic charges but me. I don't even travel. If anybody here knows me, you look at my travel budget from last year was probably $2,500 total on going to Northern Quest, going to language conference, going to Coeur d'Alene. Okay? Now, if you want to know who's spending our money, each one of us get $25,000, as you know, Sherry. So I feel like if I'm staying home and I'm spending $2,500 out of my budget on delegation, that other $22,500 should be saving the tribe money. That's not what happens. The other council spend my money. So it's, you know what I'm saying? So there's a lot more to this that's unsaid. So the way I look at it is you got 14 councilmen, there's 25,000, that's what, $350,000, okay? So it's who can spend it the fastest.
Are you supposed to go in and get a budget on over here?
Oh, right, Sherry. I was there when you were there. You know what kind of stuff was going on there, and that was one of the reasons that I went there. That whole thing's out of control, and there's nobody's monitoring.
I never went over to people's.
I'm sure you never.
Just to follow up on what Benny was saying too, and the charge was, the formal complaint was to expel him from council. And after we went through this whole process, after we showed, you know, along the way, like, this isn't right, you know, why isn't the executive committee talking to him, you know?
Right.
And then he told his story too. There were only 2 votes that voted for expulsion. That was Chad Ferguson and Billy Nicholson. The rest of them didn't agree with it because it wasn't right. You know, they didn't agree with it, so that failed. Then we went to the next step of
Are we allowed to know what the purchase was
Fuel.
fuel.
Every one of them was fuel at tribal trails, and every receipt was turned in.
And they were all first truck and not purchased other diesel and all of those things. It was all investigated. It was all over Facebook that he
You know, but
was using it for his
one thing I want to
business.
say, I see a bunch of hands up, I'll answer any questions that you have. Okay, the original ethic charge says expulsion. Okay, so this is my interpretation of the ethic charge. When they decide they want to keep moving it forward, they get to the point in time where they're going to vote on expulsion. It failed. Okay, so in my opinion, that charge should be null and void. It should be done. But no council, what they did is say, well, we didn't get expulsion, so let's try for 1 week suspension. Well, we didn't get 1 week suspension. Well, let's try 2 week suspension. Okay, we agree on that. So this is my interpretation, is that, again, I feel like I'm violated. If he wanted 1 week or 2 weeks, that should have been in his charge. It said expulsion only, it didn't say anything else. So when that failed, how can you keep making up stuff and going along until you get something that you want? Where's my due process?
Public opinion is matter.
Let's go around. Harry has, we'll let Harry speak first. He hasn't.
I went and helped a friend of mine.
Hold on. Harry's first and then.
We keep hearing these things every meeting, and we've been listening to the same thing over and over. I remember working for the tribe, and all you hear around the hallways around National Indian Finals, that time of the year. Before that, everybody's, are you going to National Finals? Yeah. I got my tickets. Everybody's getting ready to go. And I'm thinking, well, what are you getting the money that, you know, they're going on travel on the tribe. They're going down supposedly to go to conferences. but these conferences are in conjunction with the rodeo. It blows my mind that these people can do that, and nobody says anything. Nobody,
Well, you say something and it goes nowhere anyway.
and it's just, these
Why do you
people
think
are
I'm
just,
not popular?
yeah,
I
they're
say
running
something all
around
the
making
time.
these on our money,
Political
people's
codes.
money. And not only that, but, we're out there, like you say, on Facebook. Some of these employees that are the tribe or CTEC, when they go on travel, they go to these different cities. While they're there, they're drinking. I mean, I used to drink, so I can't say much about it. But these younger people go out and they drink excessively. They get so much drinking that they start talking. Well, they start sharing with other people about what's going on back here at home. And what certain councilmen are down there, especially if there's a golf tournament, why they're down there and what they're doing on the tribe's dollar. And this word gets back to us, but nobody's keeping track of those thousands of dollars that CTEC, the tribe, they're just throwing money around like chicken feed. And I'm sitting here and listening, you know, to Benny, they're all going after Benny, but there's people out there that are doing horrible, worse than you can even imagine with your people's money, with our money. That should be under control. And that's why it's been brought up that an audit needs to be done on the tribe and CTEC and the other entities, the whole thing. Somebody needs to go in and look at all the credit cards and look, what did they spend everything on? I mean, it's just like the computers. Somebody's monitoring what the computers are doing. It's the same with the credit cards. I don't know why the people watching the credit cards are going, hey, look at this. Guys up here spending credit card over here, buying all this stuff. But they just put blinders on. They need to do something.
I need to, a couple of weeks ago, I helped my friend with a petition. Where is that petition now?
We have it.
Okay.
But actually, we didn't even know it was there when we made the recommendation. Evidently, it was in our mailboxes, ironically. But we've been pushing the CBC audit for a long time. The CBC budget hides an administration budget, so we don't ever have to be accountable. Because whenever our travel goes down, administration has to fill it in. So that's
Thank you for doing
Well,
that.
Yes.
I'm wondering because like Harry said, I've been worried about these departments that send their people to all these conferences all the time. Every year, the same people go to the same conference. And they build up at casinos, they build up at resorts, and they build the tribe. And that's gotta stop. I want everybody with a tribal credit card, everybody's travel status, everybody, I mean, across the board, across the res. I want it all. That's all.
Yeah, well, a few years ago, travel has been brought up at the district meetings. And, for a few years there, they posted all of the travel in council. And all of a sudden that stopped. And, that was really helpful because you saw what was going on.
Yep.
I would like to see that happen again, that the travel.
Per
how much
CBC
was
member.
paid for travel.
Yeah.
Do you
I'd
want
like
to,
to respond, or you
go
want to
ahead,
jump?
go ahead.
Uh,
You do the punchline.
We've actually received an email from a tribal member that requested that all travel, why was it ever taken out, that needs to be put back into the tribal tribute. And there's about half of us, and I'll only speak for myself, at the table that don't have a problem. I would be more than willing to let you see my travel that would vouch for. If I said I would spend $2,500, you know where that $2,500 went. But there's some on the opposing side that don't want that because as well as you know as well as I do, it's called credibility. And they don't want you to know where they're at. They don't want you to know how much money they're spending. And so I don't know how we can force the chairman to do it. I have no idea.
Ooh.
Can you give one of the reasons? Tell them one of the reasons.
Go ahead,
Well, the justification was that if you publish it, then people know when they're out of town and their homes can be vandalized.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't come out for until a month later.
Yeah, doesn't make sense. It does not make sense.
They could just,
Well,
oh my gosh.
You know,
You've already been there and back.
can that be like a referendum put on the ballot as,
It should just be.
you know,
Enforceable.
it should.
Just
yeah,
make
we
it
should-
enforceable.
Let's just vote right
County
now.
should want to be
Ye-
accountable.
The one thing is that, you know what, I've never heard of OMAC having an over budget or you guys, I don't even hear of you guys traveling. But when you check the Facebook, you sure can see all those other guys in New York, at the football games, in Las Vegas, and there's pictures in clubs, in bars, with multiple CBC together, and none of them are in it. Not these three anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, so
I just had a comment and I think I saw something about a budget mod to supplement CBC's budget to cover the 5%, blah, blah, blah. To come out of unspent FY15 funds. Let me finish. This is what I read in the recommendations or something. And so here's what this, it goes with this overspending and why you have to budget mod. Because there's a woman that comes here and she's an Omak, no she's not, she's a Yakima. Her brother is a Caldwell tribal member. And Diane Sampson and Simon Sampson lived down in that house on the river and goddamn near froze to death. And nobody did nothing. And at the end of last year, when Smoker brought those FEMA trailers to the council table, nobody followed up on it. I heard Snina say, oh, I thought somebody took care of that. Did anybody go down there and check on her? How high did that river come up? Is she still in that place? Oh wait, did I see that FEMA trailer sitting by the community center? So, when you budget mod out of FY13 funds, why wasn't she helped? You know how much money she needed? She needed $10,000. That's how much money she needed. That is just infuriating. So I hope wherever they go, they have a really good trip because she's down there in a hub.
I want to respond a little bit to that because I think a lot of what you said was true. Some of it I disagree with. One of them FEMA trailers have been brought down to her place. Smoker has been taking control of that. When we had our meetings, I think you were at the community development meetings. We asked who would want to lead the FEMA homes, what we were going to do with them. Smoker volunteered, so he was unanimous. He was the one taking charge of those. Once I don't want to say once he became aware, but he took lead in talking with Public Works and all the people that go down and do the inspections, realized they were living in unhumane conditions, blah, blah, blah. I can't speak for him on why it took so long to get that trailer down there, but some of the resistance that he's getting is they have right-of-way issues, there's easement issues, there's funding issues, like what you said, as far as who's gonna pay for the concrete slab, who's gonna pay for the power. So you know, we can give him a trailer, but somebody has to step up. He's been working with Heat, trying to work on their skirting, all these different things. I mean, you know as well as I do, Dina, it's more than just delivering a trailer. There's a lot that has to be done prior and after to make it a key turn home. And so, you know, I think it did take a long time to get them FEMA homes. We kept asking, I kept asking. We had people calling. And so what we did, the FEMA homes, we come in the committee and we directed Smoker and them, you guys make a list. We want requirements. Everybody knows there's a lack of housing. So we had to make up a priority list. and they are a checklist that you had to go through all these steps to get on that list, and the first ones that got it all done and were eligible and complete, you moved to the top of the list. Well, we've got 4 trailers. I think the list was 24 people the last I heard, and that was a few months ago. Why they're still sitting there, I don't know. And so we had an opportunity this last summer to get more trailers, but council around the table, I wasn't one of them. They didn't want to take on that responsibility. Some of it was roof load, 30-pound roof loads that we're getting. Everybody knows we got a 40-pound roof load in Oakland County, which is, debatable. But there's a lot more to that story, and I respect your compassion, I do, because I feel the same way. If we got elders living in unhumane, it's not acceptable.
I went to a program and I asked for this assistance, and I was point blank turned to do it. And that program painted and recarpeted their office. And why? When we're gonna get a new manager. I was, it's just, and I don't mean to blast you, it's
Okay.
just everybody, it's everybody. And I was really disappointed, but, you were a good target, because I saw that that you budget modded, so,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
But one last thing, look me in the eye, swear to me, you didn't put in that gas in your logging trucks or any of your personal businesses, and I'll believe you.
I'll swear in this man's grave right here that none of that ever went
Thank
into
you.
any.
And so I'll put my name on the wall.
Diane,
Stay on
she'll-
Facebook.
Anytime that Diane has a problem when she comes to lunch, she'll tell me the water was frozen. And then the problem she had with her brother, we know about those. Okay, I wrote a referral. And, I'm not very popular because I write referrals. But I do writing, and, I've written 3 referrals on Diane. And, so, but each time she'll find me and say, Joe, I need this, or this is happening, and I'll do a referral. To, the person who works here. And, we did a referral the other day on one of our people, and they said, and I recommended they staff the case with the people that was involved, and then the worker I was talking to said, well, who's gonna set up the meeting? And I said, you are.
Hey, Sherry and then Vince.
Last word from me on that. I'm sorry you feel violated, but there are policies, and you weren't oriented when you first went on. I was, and I plainly knew not to use what I could use that part of it. And I think in 6 years I might use like 3 times. I normally use my own, so I didn't have to question it. And for travel, I think any who read my column, I always put down how much I spent on my travel, so everybody knew. And that created this, everybody putting down where they were going and whatnot. We did it for some time, a couple of years, and then all of a sudden. But I'm not sorry for questioning. I have every right as a traveler, and all the other private members have the right. If those cards were misused, it isn't.
Thank you. Thank you.
The process you had to go through, almost everybody has to go through that. The only thing I see is that the executive committee should have handled this before it got too far, which created a lot of excess worry for not only you, but for your membership. I will never be sorry to question any one of you. I was never sorry if people questioned me. I didn't give them much chance, but
How did you do it with
that
the-
as a leader, you're open to that. That's it. You take the job, you suffer the consequences, and you will will be questioned. We're a servant of the tribe, yes.
No, that,
On every organizational chart I've seen, all the tribal members are up here. And council's under this, so, I think it should be a growing experience for you. And you bet darn well learn what you can use that card for. Because it's your personal use.
that's not what it was used for.
Well, you did it a way, you used it to travel around the reservation.
In representation of
none
you,
of us-
in representation of you, I did.
None of us had done it before. We were told, no, you have a tribal rig. You have a tribal, there's a gas card that goes with that tribal rig.
So what's the if I live in Digital and my meeting's in Omak, you want me to drive to the ski lump to jump in a tribal rig? I'm still gonna be coming out of that same budget.
Change the rules, I don't
Well,
care,
I'm
but
just
that's the way
explaining to
they
you.
are, and that's
I'm
your
explaining
tribal
to you.
policy. Your council policy and procedure, it's
All I
there.
have to do is
So it's your responsibility to read those things and to understand from your secretary what you can and cannot do, because they orientate you.
I think it comes down to the way the policies are written, it comes down to interpretation.
Hmm.
Your interpretation and mine or anybody else's.
That was one of the first things I learned, is what you use that credit card for. So I won't accept that.
Somebody's watching off there.
That's fine.
Sam?
But anyway, thank you for sitting here, and
He's right.
thank you all for
I've seen
being
it.
here.
Okay, and
I've
as
seen
a
it.
tribal member, I appreciate your thorough explanation of that, and I'm glad that I came tonight to hear it with my own ears and not through Facebook. And I'll go be the first one to go home, I'll tell you, and I'll post the truth on Facebook because I heard it from your mouth. I'm, you know, I'll speak my mind and what I think. Because the other 13 I did email, I'm sure you heard about it.
Sure did.
That, you know, that I believe you should, Lou Anderson did something far less. But now that we have been, now that it's been explained to us the difference between with intent, now I understand that, then I can understand the process of what you guys, the process that they're doing now.
We couldn't talk to you about it at all.
Well,
Because we're in the middle of it.
Yeah, I mean, but the way you guys explained the difference between criminal and with, you know, criminal intent versus ethical, I can see now that I've heard it, why it's not criminal intent. Because personally, for me as a tribal member, you have to go to a meeting in Brewster with tribal members down there. Personally, I wouldn't have a problem with any of the council using that tribal credit card. You're going to do that for all of us, not just yourself. So I don't see what the big issue is. It was the rumors that were going around that it was for your store, you purchased cigarettes, it was that you purchased fuel for your big trucks, that Alana went to the casino and spent $2,000. You know, it was those rumors. And so I'm glad that I did, Benny, get to hear it from you directly that, and the dollar amount. You know, a lot of people are concerned, people are, the rumors, you know, that it was over $10,000, you know.
I'm open to show anybody my paperwork. You have, I'm not withholding anything, and I'm always honest and upfront. I appreciate you coming and asking. I really people come and ask me. So I said we should be open to question. I'm always open to question. And like I said, throughout this whole process, I had maybe 3 or 4 people I didn't even talk to. Everything else was just whatever somebody else said.
Okay, so you can tell me that you had 18 fuel card charges and all of those were for tribal meeting. You were going to something that is reflective towards,
Tribal representation of the over 6
and nothing else.
This is a perfect example of why the ethics committee should not be with council.
We nominate you to take ethics.
Elder, take charge.
Vince has the floor.
I just want to say, you know, I appreciate everybody coming here, but, you know, we as a tribe and our tribal constituents, you know, the Omak area are supposed to look out, especially the culture committee, when they allow logging to go into, where our berries were once at, up on Kobe Trail. And they say the forestries, I went out there last basket, scaled for BIA for his whole life. So I went to the source, and he said, Vince, back in '69, we logged the meadows, and we got 32 million board feet, high scaled ever logged come out of the meadows. You go up to the meadows today, you go tomorrow, John, my grandson's son might be logged at. That's how devastated the meadows is. The meadows is devastated from Crawfish Lake line clear up to Roaring Creek, that whole valley. And and when Merville was even in logging, we were told to stay out of Huckleberry areas. They went there and just destroyed it. My son works for a tribal logger, and their next block is the overstorage. I was explaining, we left overstorage, and they're taking. I talked to the log cutter, and he said he is sad. He said, "Now remember, I'm sad to go cut these trees because the reed rod's only this tall." And I don't know, I tried to talk to forestry, you got tribal forestry, you got BI forestry. I went up to pick my son up for his AA meeting, I had to drive back down for his AA meeting, so I went to pick him up through. And where they were logging, it was.
This too?
Yep.
I would jump out and I told him, if the council would.
Yeah, I can put it in there.
To our land.
Thank you.
Yeah, and there was almost, my son's the only Indian out of the whole house, other than the owner. And it's sad because now I'll have to find I used to help her bury that, and then they claim it's old. How can, if I'm building a house, set the house, I have to go through the process, I have to go through history and archaeology, culture, minerals, back, all of these, out of the council pass a logging sale without having none of the stuff done in private landfill. Because there's not gonna be no more upwards. Last year they logged.
No, it was a member, I just didn't like it. Flying all over the place.
It's sad. And if you go up there, you go from Crawfish Lake this way to the meadows, and all the trees, this hundreds of acres is just everything else with size is gone. And it's sad. Well, that's I talked to Joe it's an emergency to get this log to keep our mud fed, to keep them. I did it in 15 years.
That's what they want. They don't get that.
She told you to lay down and be a spirit, they're old enough.
I know. Silver nickel, Pepsi. McDaniels has 2 crews up there. And I believe there's 2 Indians out of probably 60 employees. They don't even come out of one of those people out in this mountain. Nobody's things. And it's just sad. You look at our land. I don't see where we're gonna get. I don't know. I think it's a city contract. It was 40 million a year. $1 million board feet.
Yeah, we're just trying to clean up, get it out of the way. Yeah, you're more than welcome to.
It's sad, but I understand, but we need it all.
Right? Just don't pick this stuff around people.
People up
I
there,
think that's
it's horrible. Take a drive, go up there. There's, I thought we quit clear cutting, but with all the old growth, because there's saplings, there's take on their next walk, I guess it's not. The critics, they go in and Lost Creek, and they're right along the creek, they've already logged right along the creek. There's water, but important for this.
Someone who cares.
It is, especially the cultural, it won't last.
That's not good. Right, yeah, because you can't work around a bunch of people and be like that. This is all me over here.
Oh, and just hurry up and rush you out.
Well, I helped you.
This summer we'll go look. No, but I'll look for
I think we're still going. I think so.
6 inches up.
All right, we need people like you out there doing that.
Hey, that committee you're talking
them parts will be in there. Them cops will be in there.
Okay, I got it right there.